Welcome to Vectorworks Landmark 2014. We believe the art of design drives the entire creative process, and to that end, we provide a software solution that'll help you find your balance. As a landscape professional, the act of balancing your design process with your technological needs has never been easier. The 2014 release will help you create a custom appearance for your 2D site designs while simultaneously constructing a 3D site information model. This year we've divided the new features into several categories. Under the first category of Enhanced Plant Objects, let's look at the Custom Plant Tag. For 2014, the custom tag fields are now easier to populate with pull-down menu selections containing almost all of the possible custom values, all of which are selectable from a simple list. Now you can select any of the tag elements, add their suffix, and save the tag. These custom tags will appear separated at the top of the list, just as you've come to expect with other custom or in-document resource lists. It's as easy as that. Another common wish that we've fulfilled in the Enhanced Plant Object category is that the plant definition option is now directly accessible from any location within the Plant Settings dialog box. You'll find the Edit Definition button at the bottom left no matter which pane you're working in, placing your data right at your fingertips where it belongs. This year, managing the visual impact of drop shadows has become quicker and more consistent over the entirety of your site designs. While plant objects could always have shadows, we've extended that functionality to the massing model tool. In addition, we've clarified and unified the options available for drop shadows. While the options for no shadow and plant definition are clear, there's also a newcomer. The Use Document Preference setting will let you set a preference for the document you're working in that is entirely separate for the individual plant shadow settings, as well as for the definition. Now you can control the shadows for all plant objects and massing models within the document from one single location, without affecting other files. So if you want to control drop shadows on plants and building massing models within the plan view, simply enabling the plan shadows under Document Settings now provides a quick and easy way to adjust and position the shadows for a consistent overall effect throughout the plan. If you prefer to use your mouse, there's a new slider bar that lets you adjust shadow angles by dragging, giving you a more interactive and dynamic experience. This year, the Massing Model tool provides the flexibility and power you need as a site designer to add and report the programmatic uses for building massing models on a floor-to-floor basis. After selecting the tool, I'll go into the Preferences, adjust the number of floors, and select Floor Usage Data. Whether the building has 2 stories or 10, you now have the ability to add information to each individual level. You can see how the number of available fields changes as I vary the number of floors. Now let's look at how we can report this information. This year we've added a new capability to our worksheets called substring functions. This function lets you separate multi-value fields into separate worksheet cells. By using a substring function, you can pull the string apart and then display the desired string value in a separate cell, such as our floor usage data. The site model contour labels can now be added, removed, and manipulated through the use of the Reshape tool. This new functionality lets you control and relocate contour labels, whether they're interfering with massing models, site modifiers, or important visual information. Now you have the freedom to position and reposition contour labels at will for legibility, annotation, and consistency with Office standards. This welcome functionality can be applied to a wide range of drawing types such as site surveys, grading plans, site plans, and planning plans. Now let's look at some stake object improvements. This year, a series of long-time wishes have been granted for the stake object. The first improvement is the addition of a new marker symbol for graphic conventions called the circle cross. The next improvement is the inclusion of several new label references for stake objects. Now the change in nomenclature for coordinate points allows for the selection and use of northing and easting. This can also be switched to just about any label reference you might need. Additionally, we've added the ability for the elevation to be shown for any coordinate point with a stake object. The coordinate and elevation units for a stake object can also be controlled independently. Lastly, you can sequentially track IDs for survey points and spot elevations. This enhancement lets you place stake objects consecutively, while the identity numbers are automatically assigned in a self-numbering format. This means the stake object numbers follow the order in which they're placed, plus 3D locus points can also be easily converted to stake objects while also observing the same auto ID numbering behavior. We've improved the Fit Walls to Objects command, so you can now fit the bottoms of wall objects directly to a site model surface geometry. We've placed this checkbox in the Fit Walls to Objects dialog box, so it's immediately accessible when you're using the command. The retaining wall and pad with retaining edge site modifiers are now much more controllable when used in conjunction with the Send to Surface command. The new functionality for retaining modifiers has been extended through the creation of 3 options, or modes, for Send to Surface. The first option, Elevate the Retaining Edge, elevates the retaining edge but leaves the pad in its current location. The second option, Fit the Retaining Edge, adjusts the geometry of the retaining edge to more closely match the site model's edge. The last of these new options, Elevate the Pad, will locate the pad modifier in the Z direction, but leaves the retaining edge where it is. Site modifier area and volume display. This new option is beneficial for focusing a query on an isolated area or region of a site model. The first feature is Modify by Record, 2D polys to 3D contours. The process of importing GIS data and creating accurate site models just got easier and more powerful. Now, information that's assigned to polygons in record format, such as elevation data, can be used to convert flat, non-elevated polygons to 3D polygons. These 3D polygons are placed correctly and accurately at their designated elevations and locations. Once modified, the elevated contours can be easily converted into a site model object, representing and communicating the site's terrain. The next item is Export Shapefile Improvements. This year we've greatly enhanced our ability to export Vectorworks files in the shapefile format. The improvements we've made provide greater options for filtering and sharing data from a single Vectorworks file, as well as increasing the number of layers and classes with record formats in a single .shp file. Now it's as simple as selecting the classes and layers you need. You also now have the option to include object data, such as the object position or layer name. At times it can become difficult to identify and keep track of which origin point is truly important for your project. While design-based workflows tend to focus on identifying the origin point as being 0, 0 within a drawing file, GIS workflows make use of the actual global coordinates. In other words, you can potentially have 2 different sets of coordinates that you need to track and manage, particularly when dealing with the distortions due to different geographic projections. let's look under georeferencing, and you'll notice that there's a new checkbox available under Settings. This checkbox lets you accurately preserve the coordinates and origin from the native GIS file, leaving you with the correct location every time. This feature isn't really a single new object or tool, rather it's more of a collection of changes that'll let you remain in 3D OpenGL views during modeling and drafting. Let's take a look at some of the improvements. First, notice how when you select an object, you get an entire bounding box surrounding the object, not just a rectangular shape. Next, once you've selected an object and move it, notice how the entire scene does not need to be re-rendered, only the object that was relocated. Thanks to our new occlusion control, you'll no longer accidentally snap to corner vertices beyond an object. Notice how I can select an object from anywhere within the selection box and not just by the edge. If you have RenderWorks, let's look at OpenGL when Use Shadows has been selected. You can see how the shadows are more accurate and are more fluid as they move across the model. Here we'll switch from one layer to another while the layer control is set to gray others. Once again, notice how the rendering mode stays in OpenGL with no need to go to wireframe. In this segment, the image has been rendered in a rendering style other than OpenGL. However, once the walkthrough tool has been chosen, the rendering mode changes and stays in OpenGL and does not revert to wireframe, resulting in accurate and clear indications of what you're seeing and doing. And just to reinforce that, we'll use the Clip Cube tool and change the viewing angle of this element. Notice how the view stays in OpenGL. Once again, no more reverting to wireframe. And in this segment, we'll take a look at how objects appear when the Draw Edges option is chosen. Oh yeah, much cleaner and much smoother. I like that. I'd also like to add one more important benefit. With this graphic improvement, direct modeling is not only fun, but all the operations are smooth and accurate. And finally, to wrap up, check out the new functionality of the X-ray select mode. We'll use the B key to explore wireframe skeletons while navigating in OpenGL. And before I close this segment, don't forget to navigate using one of these good-looking gadgets. It just works. In a continuing effort to help you embrace the concept of designing in 3D, we now have a couple of new additions to the direct modeling family of tools. The first, Taper Face. Let's start with a simple cube, and from the 3D modeling tool set, we'll select Taper Face. First, we'll select a planar face as the base reference. Then, select the face you want to modify. The new widget will preview the direction. Then simply drag and release. For a precise angle, you can input values into the heads-up display. Taper Face can be used to widen the base of solids and make tops narrow, and let you get very creative when modifying solid subtractions. In its simplest form, the tool will help you explore new design ideas by deforming solid objects. Let's take a look at this massing model and explore some design alternatives. With the Tangent Faces mode, you can quickly and directly pitch all the rooftops and explore different design alternatives for this building, something not easily accomplished previously. Continuing in the same vein of direct modeling, we have a twist for you, the Twist Face tool. Many examples exist in the landscape and in entertainment and lighting design, as well as architecture. Starting with a solid object, it's simply a matter of selecting a base reference face and then letting the protractor widget give you visual clues regarding the amount of twist placed on an object. You can also twist multiple objects. Notice the heads-up display giving you the opportunity to input a specific number of degrees of twist. So now, go get wrapped up in your work. This is truly direct modeling taken to the next level. Vectorworks is now capable of directly referencing DWG, DXF, and DWF files. This means that instead of importing or using the shuttle file method, you can now choose to reference a file. Let's look at how it's done. We'll start with a couple of files to explain how direct referencing works. Let's say I have a 2D park survey drawing created in another CAD application, and I need to bring it into my working Vectorworks file. Now we're in the main Vectorworks model. We'll run the import command, but pay attention to this small checkbox. This makes direct referencing possible. Now we have our reference 2D layout showing in place. Like always, updates and changes happen. In this case, our external proposal needed to have its rotation adjusted. We'll run the same process. Once the changes are agreed upon, I'll replace the original reference file with the new one. Now, back in our main Vectorworks project, if you open the Organization palette and under the Reference tab, you'll see our references are out of date. By hitting the Update button, our latest rotated proposal is now up to date. This direct workflow is a huge step forward for those who need to ensure team collaboration. The next feature involves complex line type export. Last year in Vectorworks 2013, we introduced line types. Now in Vectorworks 2014, these line types can be exported to DWG format as true DXF DWG line types. Simply uncheck complex line types as blocks in the DWG export dialog to ensure this feature. With that box unchecked, Vectorworks will create the appropriate SHX files that will be placed alongside the DWG after the export completes. The next feature is support for named true colors. Vectorworks 2014 now includes support for named true colors in both the import and export of DWG files. Any named colors included in the DWG during import will be imported as named Vectorworks colors. This will occur automatically for imports. On the export side, checking the box for Use True Colors must be checked in order for these types of colors to be exported properly. The next item is the Publish command. In the final stages of a project, no matter what your profession, you'll need to publish drawing sets for your project's various stakeholders and collaborators. Therefore, we've created the new Publish command. This new option will let you produce customized file sets in a number of common formats right from a single dialog box. When using the Publish command, you can pick and choose one or more sheets, save views, or even other Vectorworks files, as well as the export formats including PDF, DWG, DWF, and print. This means that from a single location you can set up and even save a set of files to be produced, then click OK and go on about your business as Vectorworks produces all the necessary files to your specified location. This year we're proud to announce IFC support for Vectorworks Landmark. Now you'll have the power and flexibility to work with others. We recognize the growing need to share building and site information models among multiple disciplines using various software applications. That's why Nemetschek Vectorworks continues to be at the forefront with other vendors who are ensuring that quality information model exchanges can occur using the OpenBIM file standard IFC. Scripting with Vectorworks embedded VectorScript programming language is a feature some of our users have employed to create custom plugins. However, in an effort to offer a broader world of custom scripting, you can now utilize the Python 3 scripting language and its thousands of libraries to efficiently develop scripts for Vectorworks. Python is known as a modern and popular scripting language with a large base of students, academics, and professionals around the world who learn how to program with this easily accessible open source code. Imagine if you could develop research projects in your school, develop tools that take advantage of operating system settings, connect your georeference drawings to web map services, push the boundaries of your workflows by incorporating online resources, dynamically connect IFC data to your building information models from the cloud, execute automatic tasks such as email notifications, or create your own customized tools and commands. The possibilities are limitless. Here's a new tool that's been added to RenderWorks repertoire. The Brick Shader lets you create a realistic representation of bricks, panels, or tiles as a texture. While this feature existed in previous versions, you're now able to add a secondary brick texture, as well as control when and where it appears, separate from the main texture. Not only that, but you now have complete control over the size and appearance of what would be the grout lines. You can select either a combination of colors or a texture for the fill. Whether you alternate row and column styles or apply a more randomized look, you'll gain hours of time in your workflow because now you don't have to tediously model each and every brick. This change also means you can take a picture of bricks that already exist in the real world and then create a much more realistic brick texture that'll match an existing wall. Finally, here's an example of many of the brick and masonry textures that ship with RenderWorks 2014. So enjoy! It's now possible to apply a displacement map in addition to a simple bump map to a RenderWorks texture. While at first this may appear to be the same as a regular bump map, displacement mapping actually alters the existing geometry to create a more realistic surface effect. This is most obvious where you can see the displacement map is capable of creating geometry that casts shadows even upon itself, allowing you to create very detailed textures that can be applied to a wide range of objects. This type of shader can greatly improve the overall look of renderings that contain tiles, bricks, water, and more. Not only can displacement textures emulate different materials and surfaces, but entire city blocks as well, all while keeping base geometry to a minimum. And let's not forget to have a look at what's new for our Vectorworks Service Select members. To start, in many cases you'll find that there's no need to create 3D models from scratch. We have new content for you. From several varieties of wall sections and details that you can use and modify, to several new arrowway textures, to many more types and styles of furniture. Check it out. We've also included a number of video clips, including some really informative tutorials and tips and tricks, focusing on items like drawing organization, georeferencing, lighting techniques, the issue manager, worksheets, custom title blocks, and more. So come on over and see what's new. So for this year, we invite you to capture that perfect balance between design and technology with Vectorworks 2014.